Trump administration is considering a way for convicted felons to restore their access to legally owning a firearm. Queen City News anchor Alicia Barnes and Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes takes us through those arguments.
The Justice Department is releasing plans to create a process for those with criminal convictions to restore their gun rights. So this decision sparking alarm that it will return firearms to those of convicted violent crimes. The interim rule follows an executive order from President Donald Trump last month directing a review of the country's gun restrictions to assess any ongoing infringements. Let's bring in our Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes to this conversation. Lots to discuss here because restoring gun rights to those who have been convicted of violent crimes, laying out the argument here for us, you know, it says that a lot of people are concerned. Why?
Well, I mean, there's arguments for both sides in this situation. You have on the one side folks that are saying that the government should not be infringing on folks' constitutional rights to bear arms. And on the other side, you have folks that are saying there needs to be some common sense legislation and regulations, specifically rulemaking process that actually limits folks that can have guns. In this situation, you're talking about people convicted of felonies, but in all other instances, you're talking about folks that are domestic violence, people that have prior drug use. That was the Hunter Biden situation when attempting to get a firearm. And so a number of things are put in place by the ATF to ensure that folks that check one of those boxes, either a violent crime, either a domestic violence, or someone that is on drugs or had drug use issues in the past, don't have guns fall into their hands. And so that's why these regulations have been put in place. I should say these rules have been put in place to try to deter and stop folks from having guns in their hands. On the other side, folks are saying, look, in any type of regulation that stops folks from getting access to guns is a bad idea. And right now, that fight has been going on for a long time, and this is the president saying, I want to get an examination of that in February, and today this rule, interim rule, is something that the ATF is saying as they'll go forward will be the new rule.
So the DOJ now, under this proposal, they were very specific about who this would benefit. Explain that a little bit.
I mean, you're talking about folks with violent crimes. I mean, this is it's as specific as you can get. At the end of the day, these are folks that typically, if you were convicted of a crime, you would have been barred from having access to a firearm, and now they're saying, no, you will not be barred from having access to a firearm. And so that's why I say I have mixed feelings about this, specifically as someone that defends people that are charged with these types of crimes. Once you've committed a crime, you've been sentenced, you've done your time, you've paid your restitution, you've been on probation, you've been on some type of post relief. This additional infringement to say, look, now you still can't vote or you can't own a firearm is an additional hurdle for you to be reintegrated into society. And so I do understand and appreciate how folks are saying, well, listen, this person is done. They've served their sentence. Restore them fully to being an American citizen. But on the other hand, I can see that there is a secondary effect of someone that has committed a crime in the past. The likelihood is now higher that they may commit a crime, specifically if the original crime was a violent crime. So I can understand and appreciate both arguments.
So also to be able to point out here, they said that no constitutional right is limitless, and they would now be screening out others. Specifically, what does that language mean? Is it kind of like what along the lines of what you just said about who should be able to have their rights?
It is. It is. I mean, and that's what the argument is. What talking about it's not limitless. Most of these gun rights advocates are saying that the president is attempting to do this unilaterally. While I think he is using his executive powers to do a number of things unilaterally, I think in this situation, this is how the administrations and agencies are supposed to work. ATF is there to formulate and promulgate rules. There should be and it needs to be a rulemaking process where you have an opportunity for public citizens to comment on the proposed rulemaking change. And that process is the part that should be happening now. Here's this interim rule. These are the changes that we're thinking about making, and let us know how you feel about that. That's the problem that folks will say. If you're not having that rule-making policy discussion with everyday citizens, now you're overreaching your ability. But outside of that, I think this process is exactly how our agencies are set up. And if you rewind it months ago, the same folks that are now in power were saying the ATF doesn't have the ability to do these types of things. But now they are making the ATF do the things that they want to see done.
Khalif Rhodes, we appreciate your insight. Thanks so much.